I played the Tuesday prior. I came in, flew in, played with a buddy, showed me around the golf course. And after the round, my caddy John texted me, said, "What'd you think of the course?" I said, "Great course. We're going to win. Don't have to show up till Wednesday." And he goes, "Perfect. All right, see you Wednesday."
Foreplay by Barstool Sports, brought to you by Chevrolet, Chevy.com, EVs for everyone, everywhere. Silverado, valuable truck, the whole deal. Huge show. We've got the last two champions on the PGA Tour, obviously major champion. We got Wyndham Clark and Nick Taylor coming on to this show. We got like 25 minutes with Wyndham Clark talking all about the U.S. Open, LACC. Afterwards, media obligations, huge shots, how he's gone from, I think he's like 188th in strokes gained on approach to he's like 16th in strokes gained on approach. He went from last year to this year. So we talked about all kinds of good stuff. Obviously, he just won the U.S. Open. Ricky and Rory and going up against those guys and everything. And then we got Nick Taylor coming up. We haven't interviewed him yet. So we're going to do that after we do this part. So you're going to get Wyndham. You're going to get Nick Taylor. You're going to get the last two winners. We got U.S. Open winner. We got Canadian Open winner. And then we got quite a bit to get to on this show as well. Trent Ryan's not here. He forgot his microphone. You guys are on the road this week. Forgot his microphone. So it's just myself, Frankie, and D-Rap. What's up, boys?
How's it going? It's like being a food critic and forgetting your utensils.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think I've traveled without this microphone since I've joined the show.
It's just a thing you need in our world, you know. You got to get that microphone. But it's great. We're on that grind right now of the Barstool Classic, where it's the double in Chicago, double in Nashville. Back-to-back Barstool Classics are a beast, man. It's just a lot of golfers, a lot of people you're meeting, and it's just a lot of sun. It's like you're out there. Golf is a fucking long day. And when you go back to back and you're not playing, it's a lot of golf watching, man. That is a lot of swings. It's a lot of out to in. Man, these fucking fades and these slices, it's just a very common swing amongst the – oh, my God. When you watch like 120 guys tee off on the first tee at an event, every single guy has the same exact swing. It's insane. And then that one guy that finds the slot and comes through the ball and hits a powering draw, you're like, what the fuck was that? Yeah. Like seeing it done correctly is like, whoa. Because it's not like we do it correctly. We watch the same shit when we play. But that's why it's so cool to go to actual pro events. And like you can't believe that all these guys are that good. We had a guy that was like a +3 playing the Classic yesterday, and he just swung differently than everyone else. It was beautiful.
Dude, I remember the Irondequoit one. There were a lot of good swings at that one. Remember that? Dude, There were a lot of guys piping it off those combined first and like 10 tees, I think that it is. But yeah, that is just the miss. There's a reason that every instructor in the world is like, yeah, when we deal with amateurs, we deal with slices. And it's like when I'm really nervous under pressure on the first tee of the camera, my miss is I hit a huge over the top fucking slice out to the right. That's just the miss. And everybody fucking has it. You realize when you're at those, like you said, how bad just the average golfer is. I mean, we're all pretty terrible at this game. Like nobody, and not even pretty terrible, like very few people just even do it correctly, right? Like when you just get the biomechanics and like it falls into place properly, and you drive with like your trail leg instead of like early extending, and you have the club come through a little bit shallow and from the inside out, and like almost nobody does any of that stuff properly, so you're just behind the 8 ball before you even start. It's fucking tough.
Trent and I filmed a video. It's going to come out, I'm assuming, right before the Corn Ferry event that we're doing at the Glen Club, the MV5 Invitational presented by Old National Bank, which is a nice little mouthful there. But thank you. We tipped this place out at the Glen Club, and I think we went further back than they'll play at that Corn Ferry event. We played about 7,500 yards. Like 250-yard par threes into the wind. And we did a 2-man scramble from back there. Let me tell you, that was humbling. Like what we ended up shooting compared to what the guys will shoot out there when we go to the Glen Club, July 27th to the 30th. If you're in the Chicago area, you can come to that. Wow. Like really, really mind-blowing at like how good you have to be to play those golf courses at those conditions from that length. The length means everything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was looking at the scorecard. We had a 245 par 3. And I was like, if we were playing from the whites, it was like 160 yards. Like that right there is we were ripping like 3-woods and drivers into this thing. It's like, what do you expect us to do? Right? Like Trent had to give everything he had out of a driver. So, I mean, that's just a really hard shot. And it makes you just think like, we're not even playing the same game as these pros. And that's the minor leagues. We're not even playing the same game. Someone's going to go out there and shoot what, like 6 under, 7 under? I mean, that's like fucking disgusting.
Yeah, like each round, like 20
each
under
round
win the event.
Yeah, right. Someone might the winner might be like 18 under at fucking the Glen Club. Like that's disgusting, dude.
That 245-yard par 3 for our boy Alistair Doherty. That's like he's probably hitting like a 6-iron in there, or something. Right?
And it's what the hardest part is, and I'm just saying like obvious things. It's these 500 plus par 4s. The par 5s are fine. You can give it like. A 600-yard par 5 to me is no different. Like I'm still going to advance the ball down. I'm getting the ball on in 3. Like that's like what I should be able to do. Even if it's 620, if it's 630, like a 510 par 4 is just making it impossible. You have to pipe a drive so flushed in the perfect spot that you have a good look at the green, and then you have to hit like a 4-iron in, and to hold that green is impossible.
I think the biggest difference, because when I hit it good, it's like comparable. It's the mishits. Their mishits, when we hit a mishit, we lose like 50 yards of distance. Mm-hmm. Their mishits are directional almost always. It's like, okay, I might have pulled it, but it still went 300 yards in the air. Or I might have pushed it in a fairway bunker. They don't have the, oh man, I hit that one right off the heel and it went, 50 yards shorter and now I have 275 into the green. Right. Yeah, that's that. And the par 3s. Once you're playing courses with 230-yard par, you got to bring out the furniture on the par 3s, then you got serious issues.
And that just makes you think like the guys like Scottie and Wyndham Clark and Rory, these guys are Trent and I looked at each other and we're like, think about how actually good Tiger Woods was in this prime. Like dude, this game is fucking impossible from this level. It's impossible. We're playing a 2-man scramble. We can't make pars. Like this game is impossible. And he was so good that the aliens, like the best of the best, couldn't even come close to competing against him.
Dude, he was
actually
good
unfathomable.
That there's a whole tour above the tour we're talking about, and then he was way better than everyone on that tour. It's like, how is that? How could you comprehend that?
You can't comprehend it. I
saw Rory so Rory hit the ball, I think statistically the best he's ever hit it in a major this week. I saw that. I think that stat is correct. He gained like over 13 tee to green. I saw a couple shots that stopped me in my tracks this week where I was like, oh my God. He hit a shot in the practice run on the 8th hole as par 5. He was probably 240 out. And you guys remember the 8th hole, it kind of went right and then back left. And there was a tree on the left. And he hit this 4-iron from 250, high cut. And I was talking to Adrian, who obviously we all know. And I was talking to Adrian and I said, oh my God. He said, what? I stopped in my tracks because this shot was so beautiful. And I just said, oh my goodness, I think that's the most pure long iron I've ever seen in my life. And there's another gear. There's just another gear, and how high he can hit it with 4-iron and 5-wood and 3-wood is out of control.
Dude, if I have a 4-iron in my hand and it goes into the air like relatively properly and lands somewhere near the green, it's heroic. Yeah. It's like, that was fucking awesome. Did you guys see that? And like the chances, even if it lands on the green, it's going to roll to the back edge or over. Like I'm not hitting this high tower I won. You're just literally standing there like, okay, that's a butter knife. Shout out to Frankie Butter Knife in my hands. There's no loft there, so I don't know how the golf ball is going to go into the air. And then I also just have a shit swing. So it's like I could chunk it, I could blade it, I could hit it way right, way left, low, duck, anything. If you hit one that's actually up into the air at all and it goes near the green, you're looking around like, boys, did you see that? And the fact that he's there from 250 hitting a high cut 4-iron, it's like what Wyndham Clark on the 8th hole in the final round, like he had like 257 or whatever it was with an iron in his hand, and he pulled it clearly, and that ball, he ends up making the bogey, but that ball was a foot from landing on the front edge of the green with an iron from 257.
And that was a miss. And that was a miss for him. He pulled it.
Jesus. If we do that in our group, like everyone's like, holy shit, what a shot. We're like giving high fives. Like I'm feeling, you're going back to the cart. You're like, I'm feeling it today. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm fucking flushing the ball.
Dude, the Corn Ferry Tour event's going to be, I think people are going to be blown away at how good these players are. I think that you get minor league hockey in your mind. It's like of like fighting and scrappy. You get minor league basketball of like D League. That's kind of what you get in your mind. I think people are going to be blown away at how good these guys are. Scottie Scheffler, like these guys all came from the Corn Ferry Tour. The NV5 Invitational presented by Old National Bank. That's at the end of next month. We're going to be putting on this broadcast. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped for them. I'm glad you guys got to see the course. A very cool golf course.
It's a great golf course. Like you were saying last show, there's a lot of like areas that when you hit the ball in the right spot in the fairway, you can really, really chug that thing down there. So there's going to be some big numbers off the tee, but also some long 4 irons into the wind. It's a tough course. The greens are a nightmare. They're fast. They're firm. 17 is like an unplayable hole. Like it's that 230 par 3, and the green just does this in a certain spot. And if the pin's on that right side, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. So yeah, it's a super fun golf course. I can't wait to get back there. Everyone, all the people, the faculty there is great. We had a great time with the Barstool Classic. Chicago always just like shows out, and now that it's becoming like Barstool headquarters, it's like it felt like a big moment. And now we're going back next month, so I'm excited.
All right, EVs. Electric vehicles, we're in the future. We're not in the past anymore. You probably thought 2023, that's so far off. What kind of technology are we going to have there? Guess what? We have everything that you've ever come to know and love from Chevy. All the models, they're iconic. I like a rock coming around the cliff, the whole deal. The videos, the commercials are great. Bow tie, except now they're packed into electric vehicles, and they're as good as it gets.
Chevrolet Silverado EV it's awe-inspiring. It's jaw-dropping. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's technological. Everything about it. It's huge, but it's also slim. Everything about it has been perfectly crafted. And I'm not kidding. If you're in the market for a car, if you're in the market for a truck, you got to go find one of these EV dealerships that Chevy has. They have thousands of them across the country. Just go look at this thing. You're not going to believe it. You're going to be telling your friends at dinner about it. You're going to say, I saw this Chevy Silverado EV, and it's Chevrolet really has just knocked it out of the park when it comes to this, because I'm sure it was a huge decision to turn the Silverado into a Chevrolet Silverado EV. That's like, it was always a certain thing. It was like riding over rocks and men were driving it with all the stuff in the back. And now it's like the future, and they nailed it. I'm telling you, I've driven it. They nailed it.
We have gotten the chance to see it. It's awesome. I think we all went, holy shit, look at this vehicle when it pulled around the corner. We got to jump in it, drive it around. All the technology's off the charts. It goes 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds. Head on over to Chevy.com, learn more. Check out the Chevy Silverado EV. It's Barstool's most valuable truck. It's got available 400-mile range, GM estimated on full charge. So go to Chevy.com to learn more. We got videos. We got videos coming out. So we'll have Bush chime in if he needs to. But on our YouTube, we got new putter video, and we got Barstool Golfs with Jersey Jerry coming out this week. Is that correct?
That's right. I think tomorrow night tonight. Yeah, it's going to come out
Thursday
tonight,
night.
right, Alex Bush?
Yeah, it'll be Thursday.
Yeah, tonight, Jersey Jerry, the introduction of Barstool Golfs. It's a new series that we came up with where I'm taking everyone. There's no denying that there's a lot of golfers at the Barstool office. Everyone's got a golf video series, merchandise, the whole deal.
There's an appetite.
I was like,
there appears to be an appetite.
There's
in
a
the
Frequent
Barstool
topic
golf
of discussion in the group
culture.
chat.
yeah,
Or
so,
just even production. Just people are just putting out stuff that's related to the term golf for sure.
to the term golf. But like, people golf on their own time. They enjoy the game. There's a lot of people. So I was like, I'm done with not like seeing that. I want to play with these people. So I have contacted essentially not yet. I haven't contacted everyone yet, but I'm trying to get every person from the office to come play the same 9 holes. And my idea is that they all come to Colonial on Long Island. We play the Valley 9 because there's 3 9s there. We play the Valley 9. We play them from the same tees, and we see how every single player falls on the leaderboard. So Jersey Jerry was first. We had Francis come out, and we also had Henry Lockwood. And we're going to get way more people. We're going to get Rico Bosco, Brandon Walker. Hopefully we can get Dave out there, Big Cat. We're trying to see how do these guys stack up on the same course. Obviously, there's not going to be the same tees. Obviously, it's not going to be the same conditions with wind and all that stuff. But it's as much of same pins. But it's as much of a control as you can have, where it's like same course. How do you play against Francis? How do you play against Hank? And then, Jersey Jerry was the first one. It's pure comedy. It's coming out tonight. I think it's at 7 p.m. And hopefully everyone's there for the premiere. It's just a shit show of a golf event. I mean, Jersey Jerry is a cartoon character, and I fucking love him on the golf course. He's wearing his Milwaukee. He was wearing the Milwaukee like power tools outfit, like the drills and the fucking wrenches. He's a cartoon character. You have to be there at 7 p.m. tonight. Please join the live stream. Comment. We'll be in the chat. And hopefully this is the beginning of a very long and successful series, because I think the possibilities are endless. At the end of this, I think each season will have like a match play tournament, and we'll see, like one will play 12 and it'll be just like March Madness. So that's the idea of the series, and I think it's going to be good. So tonight, episode 1.
Yeah, and then we've got, I think just on social is with Trotty, we went through the new TaylorMade putters. We did that obviously in the fall, but that's their new line of putters. I know everybody's from different generations of spiders, different technology that they put in there. It could get confusing. You can see different colors, different shapes, what's going on. Trotty kind of walks us through it. He walks us through a lot of the stripe aspect too on the tour response ball, lining them up and sort of the path and everything they've come up with at TaylorMade that's obviously working. So on social, you can see us with Trotty checking out new putters at TaylorMade. And then tonight, if you're listening, Barstool Golfs, Jersey Jerry, from what I've heard, one of the funniest kind of shoots in the history of Barstool Golfs. I'm excited to see it. All right. We got some news bulletins to get to, a handful of things in the golf world before we throw it to these interviews. The women this week, major championship, they're at Baltusrol. This has been a big kind of evolution, it feels like, in the women's game, where they're going to some of these iconic golf courses now that the men have gone to forever. Baltusrol is actually, which this was from a Kyle Porter tweet, because it was announced that Riviera will be hosting the 2031 U.S. Open. That's the first time since 1948 that Riviera is going to host the U.S. Open. But Kyle Porter tweeted out a list of the U.S. Open venues that have had the most number of hosting the U.S. Open, and Oakmont was number 1 at 9. Baltusrol is number 2 at 7, which was
like Jack won, I think, 2 U.S. Opens there
at Baltusrol. So now the women are there this weekend. We've got a lot of obviously storylines, but the big one, Rose Zhang, she's played in one professional event as a professional. She won it. Now she's going to be going into her first major championship over in New Jersey, Baltusrol. All the history that you're going to see. Phil, when he won the PGA there, he tapped the plaque there on the 72nd hole, hit that 3-wood up there in the right rough, then hit this like kind of explosion, like flop shot out of the rough to a foot, put his hands in the air, won the PGA Championship. That was 2005, I believe, and it's crazy to think that Phil at that point, he won the 2005 PGA at Balti, and then in the spring he won the Masters in 2006, and then the next major was the U.S. Open, where he melted down upon himself and called himself an idiot. So at that point, Phil, going into the 72nd hole at Wingfoot, where he hit it way left, hit a fucking tree, hit it into a bunker, we got a Friday, hit it over the green, made double, lost by 1. If he won that, he would have won 3 majors in a row, and he would have been going to the Open Championship with a chance to win like the Phil Slam, which is fucking nuts to think about. So Baltusrol's got all kinds of history, and the women are there this year, which is awesome.
Instead, and that was also 2006 where he threw up all over himself. That was the first major that Tiger had missed the cut as a professional. So Phil was really, which was right after his dad died. So that was as close as Phil was to sort of overtaking the narrative. He blows it on 18, and then Tiger wins the 2006 British Open, and it kind of restored things back. And the 2006
PGA, he won the next 2 majors. Tiger did. So,
yeah,
it was like
he said, "I'm back."
He's like, "I saw what happened at Wingfoot. You're done. It's my turn now." So yeah, there's all kinds of cool history with Baltusrol and these courses. It's really sick that the women are going there. And so yeah, make sure you tune in to that. I've got on my picks this week. I'm about to do the gambling show live, obviously with Kirk. One of my picks is Rose Zhang top 10 is plus 150 over on the Barstool Sportsbook. Like I said, she's got one start, 1 win on the LPGA Tour. A major is a different bear. We get that. But she also, in 20 college events, she won 12 of them. So it's like, I'm not saying she needs to win this fucking thing. I'm saying top 10, she's plus money, plus 150. So go check that out on the Barstool Sportsbook.
I'm rooting for her big time because I think win, or not even a win, just having her in the mix would be really big for the women's game on a big stage like this. Week after the men's major, the women kind of get the spotlight. Baltusrol, like you said, super historic venue. She started her career literally as good as you possibly can. We know how it works in this industry and in the media. You build on momentum. She's got a lot of momentum right now, and another strong showing this week, I think, will sort of, she won and it made waves. I think if she contends or cross your fingers, wins, this crosses over into like a general sporting story, general news story, where it's like, okay, the women's game has a new star. 12 wins. If she wins her first 2 and wins a major, or even contends, she becomes, I think, immediately the biggest story in women's golf, and a sort of a bolt of energy for that tour, which could definitely use one.
It fucking needs it.
Yeah.
The women's game needs it. The whole time we've been doing this podcast, the women's game hasn't had that jolt in the United States that it kind of used to have, like with Annika and Lorena Ochoa. Like there was a phase when I was getting really into golf where the women's game, it just had more juice, it felt like. And a lot of that is kind of reliant on the stars being, relatable to certain places. It's just like in tennis. Men's tennis in the 80s and stuff, my dad talks about all the time with McEnroe and then Agassi and these guys. Like when they had American stars, tennis was fucking massive and everybody loved it. And now at this point, I know women's golf is obviously huge over in Asia. A lot of the top stars are Asian. Here in the U.S., if we could get a star or two that are American, that could draw in a lot of the American crowds, I think the women's game can get that jolt for sure. Rose Zhang seems to be as good a bet as you could possibly have. Obviously, Nelly Korda's been up there. She's been, I think she might still be, or she was obviously ranked number 1 in the world. She won the KPMG women's PGA a couple of years ago when I think it was at Congressional, I believe is when she won. Was that where it was?
And she's making her first start in a month. She's making her first start in a month. She had a back injury, so she's back.
She's
too.
had
So
some
let's
health
get Nelly
issues
and
for sure.
Rose Zhang. Let's get those two up in the mix. Let's get it going.
Let's get the
Come
juice
on,
going in
ladies.
the women's game. It's ripe for the taking. Brooke Henderson, one of my favorites. So if you're Canadian, we've got some Canadian love lately. We're going to have a Canadian winner on the show today. So there's some juice available. Let's get it going in the women's game. This is a huge opportunity at Baltusrol. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, golf capital of the world. We all went to Myrtle Beach together about a year and a half ago. It was my first time ever there. I'd heard a lot about it. I was pretty blown away at Myrtle Beach. I was blown away at all the different options. Maybe you've heard certain parts of Myrtle Beach. You've heard about this, you're about that, these kinds of restaurants, these types of golf courses, whatever. I didn't know Myrtle Beach had a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah. Especially the golf courses, a little bit of everything for everybody. Wide open fairways, and then you have tight, just diabolical tracks if you're trying to challenge your game, or if you're trying to go out there with 20 buddies on a bachelor trip or whatever, and you know that some guys don't really play that well. You don't want to give them the tough test. They have everything for everyone. I went down there. I played an easy course. I played a hard course, and you just get everything. You're just satisfied leaving Myrtle Beach. It's a perfect golf trip. It really is.
Over 70 golf courses, ranging from high-end, top 100, like Frankie mentioned, to wide open, player-friendly courses, all kinds of different off-course activities. They got breweries, bars, restaurants, nightlife, more than any other golf destination. They're also voted recently America's favorite buddies trip destination. So if you listen to this show, you probably want to do golf buddies trips if you don't do them already. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, it's just, you got to add it. You got to do it. You can go to playgolfmyrtlebeach.com. They've got all the info from golf packages, lodging, golf courses, things to do, all in one convenient place. You don't have to go to 37 different tabs and try to piece it all together. You just simply go to playgolfmyrtlebeach.com. If you're the group leader who organizes the trip, you're eligible to play golf for free. Just be sure to ask one of the Play Golf Myrtle Beach package partners for more info when you plan your trip. And then if you would like to get away, nice golf trip for you and 3 buddies, we're giving away a trip at this link, foreplaymyrtlebeach.com. So if you want to visit Myrtle Beach, you heard about us talking about 70 golf courses and the fact that it's America's top buddies trip golf destination, the whole deal, go to foreplaymyrtlebeach.com, enter to win a 3-day, 3-round golf trip to Myrtle Beach. Those are the 2 links I want you to go visit, playgolfmyrtlebeach.com, and then go make sure you sign up, enter to win at foreplaymyrtlebeach.com. Couple other little nuggets. Obviously, I mentioned Riviera. We just had a U.S. Open in L.A. at LACC. Dan Rappaport is from Los Angeles, in incredibly impressive fashion. He's from Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back there in 2031 for the U.S. Open. This has been hinted at, I feel like, forever. Every time I turn on the Genesis and they're at Riviera, it gets mentioned every hour that this is a major championship caliber venue. So it's felt inevitable they were going to go back there eventually.
Yeah, I think it's not a coincidence. There's a big rivalry between LACC and Riviera. I think once LACC got their major, Riviera put their pedal to the metal, so to speak. You know, I think a lot of people used last week as evidence that LA sports fans are horrible. I don't think it was an LA problem, because Genesis every year is an amazing event, and Riviera is they put their clubhouse on display. They're not afraid to open up their place for a week, and they've done it so many times that hopefully they will kind of go back to the U.S. Open blueprint of let's have people lining both sides of the fairway. It's a lot easier of a property to get around. You know, it's not as hilly. It's not, and they have experience showing off the golf course. So let's hope that corporate U.S. Open doesn't happen again in Los Angeles, because if it does, I'm not sure that L.A. will ever recover as far as sports fans, because that was not a great showing last week.
Yeah, that was shit. That was just shit. It was unfortunate. We found ourselves in a weird spot because I was like on the rundown. It almost felt like PGA Tour versus Live, where like for 5-6 years we were hard on the PGA Tour, and then all of a sudden you find yourself defending the PGA Tour. You're like, what? I felt that way a little bit, where it's like we were clearly hard on a lot of aspects of the U.S. Open, of LACC, of the way that the tickets went down, the fact that it's supposed to be the People's Open. But I thought that we, for the most part on this show, at least me and Frankie, like really liked the golf course. Thought the golf course showed up. I thought especially over the weekend, it held its own. It was interesting. It was definitely different. I think we all would have liked to see the 18th fairway a little bit tighter, but at the end of the day, everybody played that hole, so it was what it was. And we really enjoyed the way the golf course played. I thought it was entertaining to watch. But the corporate element of the U.S. Open, and for what I'm hearing, Dan, I think you were tweeting about the ratings being really high, obviously. I think there's been a lot of chatter about the corporate hospitality revenue was way up for them. They made a
2x at least what they've ever made.
And so the picture that paints for everyone is that the USGA sold out, making it, from a vibe standpoint, from a DNA standpoint, the People's Open, right? If you go back to like 2002 at Bethpage when Tiger won, that was the People's Open.
Mayhem.
Baby. And it is different, the United States Open. It is different than the Masters, than the PGA Championship, where those are championships that clearly are founded in a little bit of exclusivity. It's the fucking Masters. It's like the PGA Championship and PGA of America, and like that's definitely a little bit more open, if you will, than the Masters, obviously. But the U.S. Open is like, you open those fucking doors, it's rowdy. People are chanting. People were like heckling Sergio Garcia when he was regripping 800 times at Bethpage. It's the People's Open, and they just did not in any way not only capture that at LACC, like they went out of their way to
said fuck that,
be like, we're going to be corporate, and we're not caring about that aspect of it. And from a fan, standpoint, and from a viewer standpoint, that fucking sucked. It literally was a corporate U.S. Open. Oh, can't hear Dan. Can I hear you, Frankie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yep, you're just on mute, Dan Rappaport. You're nope, can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah.
Why is
I'm back?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah.
What's wrong with Frankie now? You okay, Frank?
What? No, it's like I'm getting all these text messages. I'm doing this pickleball thing. I'm getting a million text messages. And then like for some reason now, like the volume every time I send a text or get a ding is like coming through my computer. And I can't stop it, because if I
Lurch was back on the show.
If I hit like no more noise, I can't hear you guys. So what's going on here? It's crazy.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is you were in a tough spot, because we all agree, I think, that it sucked, that the vibe sucked. But from the USGA perspective, and as you've talked about at length, this is their moneymaker. This is their cash cow. They need this to fund everything else. From a financial standpoint, they brought in a ton of money and the ratings were great. So what for all the noise about, oh, we didn't like this, we didn't like that, and I agree with that. It's not like you didn't watch. It's not like people didn't watch. So at the end of the day, I don't know if there's any incentive for them to really go back. It'll be very interesting. I mean, Pinehurst will be an interesting test case, because it's not really like a major metropolitan area, so it wouldn't seem to be like a hugely corporate vibe. But what's your sense? I mean, you're more connected to Pinehurst than anybody's ever been. What's your sense about how next year might go down?
I think that Pinehurst is somehow right in between the two. Like Pinehurst is obviously it's open to the public. You can book a tee time, but it's also not, in the fact that like you have to stay on property, right? It's like Pebble Beach is in that sense. They have the same policies of like, yeah, it's a publicly accessible golf course, but it's not Bethpage Black where you can go as a New York resident, pay $70 and play it on Saturday morning. It's $400-$500 for a round on number 2. They bake it into the Donna Ross package and those kinds of things. So you got to be pretty affluent. You got to have the money, or you got to be saving up, shell out, and make it a once in a lifetime trip to kind of go and stay at the Carolina and have the access to the top golf courses and all that. And Pinehurst is pretty old, like 1895, right? That's on their logo. That's when they kind of opened, and that's their founding kind of date that they go back to. And that's old Southern, like Blazers at the Carolina hotel restaurant for years and years. And now here they are with the Cradle that has speakers in the trees. So they're sort of evolving clearly, and they've Pashley and them and Mr. Deadman, like they saw that there's a future of golf that's less buttoned up and all that. So they're sort of in between is what I'm trying to say. And, Raleigh Durham is a big ass city. That's a pretty big metropolitan, and Charlotte's 2 hours away. And North Carolina is as big of a golf state as you can have, especially on kind of the public front, I feel like, where we've talked about how many dozens of Donna Ross courses there are and how great they are because the sandhills of North Carolina. So in all of that, I think that it's ripe for the taking to be a really, really good mix. I think Pinehurst number 2 from a space standpoint is going to be great. I think they're going to be able to get tens of thousands of fans in there, no problem. From a viewing standpoint, it's not ideal once you're there because all of the turtleback greens, the greens are all literally raised above the level of where people are going to stand. It's the opposite of TPC Sawgrass, like literally the opposite. You are below the surface. So even if you're 20 feet away from somebody putting for par, you might not be able to see the hole at all because you're going to be below the green. But with the grandstands, with the atmosphere in terms of people being loud, right? I don't think it's going to be overly corporatized like LACC. But if the USGA goes that route, right? If they say, and Pinehurst has a deal with them where they get a cut of just total revenue or whatever, I don't know if they're going to stop them from being like, yeah, if you're going to make 2 or 3x by going all in on the corporate hospitality aspect of it, I don't think Pinehurst is going to stop them from doing that. So it could go either way. It'll definitely be rowdier just because the nature of it. LACC had a ton of tee boxes and greens that are right next to each other, which is really cool old school architecture, but also it didn't allow for there to be a lot of fans around certain areas. That's why we saw in a lot of tee boxes, like nobody was around the tee boxes. Nobody was really around certain greens because they either couldn't be or it was really hard to get there. So not many people were just there, and they kind of congregated around a few spots. It was weird in that there were like 3 or 4 shots throughout the day where all of a sudden you would hear massive roars. You would hear massive crowd reactions at LACC, but that's because it was so spotty. I think at Pinehurst number 2, it's going to be much more, there's going to be a lot more people in general, and I think they're going to be spread out a lot more to where you're going to get a lot more fan noise in general. So I think it'll be better, but if the USGA, if this was like their big test, this is Mike Wan coming in and like, this is clearly, an initiative from him and his whole squad that he brought in, like, they might just want to go corporate US Open going forward so they drive more revenue. And in a capitalist society, who are we to shit on them for that,
That's the fear, is like, that money wins all. If the last couple of weeks in golf have taught us anything, it's that at the end of the day, you want to bet on the money. But I don't know. I refuse to believe that LACC will be a blueprint going forward, because I don't think that, like you said, there's no board at Pinehurst that, I don't think that the reason that LACC was so corporate was just because the USGA, like, I don't really necessarily know how much of that was even a USGA decision. I think LACC is this extremely exclusive, stuffy place that was opening their doors for the first time and really tried to keep control of the week. I think the Pinehursts of the world and the Rivieras of the world are used to hosting golf tournaments, and they're used to having their place on display. LACC, it was almost like they held their nose while hosting the US Open, which is just so lame. It's just so, if you're going to host the US Open, then host the damn US Open.
And Pinehurst will get that, right? Pinehurst understands that. They've hosted 3 US Opens in the last 24 years. They host events all the time. The North-South Championship is next week, I believe. So, like, they host big events every year. They hosted the US Amateur in 2019, I think that it was. So they know how to host massive events. They've hosted the Ryder Cup. They've hosted a PGA Tour event. I think they hosted maybe a PGA Chip. So they've hosted all kinds of massive events. They know how to do it. They're going to do it incredibly well. It matters how much, obviously, the USGA wants to go with this more corporate model and how much they don't. So we'll see. Last thing I got on my list. Oh, two more things. One, did you guys see Tom Kim's 21st birthday celebration with Scottie Scheffler?
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure they went to Sally's, New Haven. I'm 99% sure that's where they went. Because Scottie is just the biggest pizza aficionado you'll ever find in the world. He freaking loves pizza. He likes it thin crust. He likes it New Haven style. That's his number one go-to. And I think he took Tom Kim, which is that officially his first party ever?
Maybe a second. Maybe a
he
second
told on this show, right? That he had never.
Cup.
And Riggs was like, "Have you ever been to a place where people are like drinking
Frankie
and
said
celebrating?" He's
Frankie's
like, "No."
You've never been to a congregation of like more than 5 people that are just together having a good time.
And he was like, "No, I don't think so."
He's like, "Nope, never."
He definitely didn't booze though, did he? Young Tom wasn't getting after it, I don't think, right?
It looked as though it was the first like sparkler like candle he had ever seen in a cake. He was like wowed by it. Like it went off and he was like, "Holy shit." You gotta go check Scottie Scheffler's Instagram stories.
God, so Tom Kim is so green. It's so lovely to see. I'm thinking about him though as like a 29-year-old like grizzled veteran who's like, "You don't ask me that stupid question. It's gonna happen eventually. But nothing green stays forever." It's
the most pure video I've ever seen. You got to go check it out, Dan. Just Scottie Scheffler celebrating Tom Kim's 21st birthday with him. You know, Scottie Scheffler looks like he's 45, but he's like 25. And then you've got Tom Kim, who just turned 21, who's never been to a party before in his life. And they got sparklers and pizza, and like he's turning 21, which is hilarious. He's won on the tour a couple times. He was dominant at the President's Cup, or he was a big star at the President's Cup, at least for the international team. He just turned 21. It's like a man with his child, even though they're almost the same age and they do the same thing and they're on a pretty similar level. It's fucking incredible. So you got to go look at that. So happy birthday to Tom Kim was kind of my main point with all that. And then my last thing before we throw these interviews was this open letter real quick from Tom Watson to Commissioner Jay Monahan. I didn't read the whole thing. I made it through about one paragraph. I think one of the main lines that I've been seeing that Tom Watson was getting quote carded was, "Can we look 9/11 families in the eyes and ourselves in the mirror?" So here's Tom Watson. I'm going to just say real quick, I'm over Tom Watson's fucking high horse letters that he does. I don't know if you guys remember from Gary McCord on this show told the story, but he's told it before. But Tom Watson also wrote a letter trying to get Gary McCord fired from covering the Masters tournament in 1994. He just loves to write fucking letters, again, from his high horse. And I'm over it. I'm over the Tom Watson fucking high horse letter shit. In 1994, okay, during the 1994 Masters telecast, Gary McCord made a comment about the Augusta greens where he said,
bikini wax, right?
He said, "They don't cut the greens here at Augusta. They use bikini wax." Which is great. It's a great line. 1994, like he's out there trying to. They've talked we've talked to Brandel, we've talked to announcers, Trevor, we've talked to McCord about how like they try to come up with new shit to say, so it's not just cliche after cliche. Great line, very funny line. Afterwards, Watson, after being offended by McCord's commentary during the 1994 Masters, wrote 2 letters of complaint. One was to Augusta National President Jackson Stevens. The other was to CBS's golf producer and McCord's boss, Frank Cherkinian. He goes on to the letter to Augusta was never made public, but the letter to Cherkinian was, and he wrote, this is what Tom Watson wrote back then. He wrote, "Dear Frank," and then he quoted, "They don't cut the greens here at Augusta. They use bikini wax." Quote by G. McCord, April 10, final round of the 94 Masters. Directed by Frank Cherkinian. He writes this in the letter. "He tried 4 of his computer-generated similes before he laid this terrible egg. It is sad that he has so degraded the last telecast of Pat Summerall. He is the Howard Stern of TV golf, and you should be ashamed rather than champion his, quote, irreverent, unquote, behavior. Get rid of him now, Tom." That was a letter Tom Watson wrote in 1994, the day after the Masters tournament, to CBS's top producer. So, I mean, this fucking guy with his letters, I'm just out on his letters.
Is there an open room in the home? Or, I mean, I don't want to put him in there yet, but at some point, it seems like he's on the fast track there, writing letters and shit. Tom, hit us on email, send us a DM. You got to put the pen and paper away. Stop complaining about shit. I mean, it is hard to say, like, stop complaining about 9/11. It's like, I don't want to be on that side of it. It's like, what he's saying is right. Like, it's true. It's what we're all saying. It's like, man, these, like, I can't believe this is even where we've come to in the world, like that we have to just like succumb to these people. And I get where he's coming from, and I actually stand by what he's saying, but the high horse stuff is insane. Like if he has a history of like talking down to people and like he's like the decision maker of the PGA Tour, like, no, you're not. You're actually not. And you just like, your opinion really doesn't matter. It's like, it's the same as everyone else's.
I saw that Davis Love III also wrote an open letter, and we got to draw the line somewhere. You got to win multiple majors before you can write an open letter. I'm sorry. Like, are we going to start getting open letters from Sean McKeel?
We got to
like,
put
are
out
we
an
going to
open
start?
letter, I think Foreplay's got to put out an open letter.
I mean, I feel like it's almost at this point embarrassing if you don't put out an open. I mean, if Davis Love III, and I don't want to disrespect his career, but it's just open season for open letters?
I think like this is the first time that golf has been this big, where it's like political and it's like world news, and it's you got to think that a lot of these guys and their families, they're sitting around fire pits and their dinners, and they're like, we have to make it, like, we have to have our voice heard. Like this is our time to make our stand. Davis Love III's, the Tom Watsons, like these guys feel like this is their time. Like I feel like they probably think if they don't speak, like no one will. It's like it's gotten to that point. Golf somehow has gotten to that point. It's literally like politics, where everyone has to give their take on it, or else they feel like they're going to get canceled. Statements. It's like, I stand with this. It's like, oh my God, why does it always have to be that?
Well, if he just gave an interview, or if he just put out a statement, I think that's fine. That's normal. The fact that how weird is it that you frame it in a way where he's writing to Jay Monahan? Like, as we're reading it, he's writing like, "Dear Mr. Monahan," but that's going to you and me. Like he's saying to Frank, like, I looked at Frankie and I was like, "Dear Dan," and you'd be like, "Why aren't you just telling Dan? Like, why are you like, what are we doing here?" That's just so bizarre, in my opinion, to do it that way. Of like, so yeah, it's a little too old school. It was a little bit put him in a home, and you're 100% right, Frankie. Like in the sentiment of it, I think we all agree with. We've talked about for 100 hours maybe on this podcast about that. We've put out pretty much the same opinion many times. But it was like the high horse thing with the letter, and you're addressing it. So I'm now reading what I know you like wanted me to read, but it's talking to Jay Monahan directly. It's like, what the fuck? So the whole thing I thought was just a little bit too much for me. We have any updates on Jay Monahan? Any ideas there, Mr. Rappaport?
I've heard that it's not life-threatening, so I think he's doing okay. I think
it's good.
My speculation, or whatever you want to call it, is that this was not what he had in mind when he became the PGA Tour commissioner.
Nope.
And this last 2 years is probably the stress that man's been under and continues to be under, because I think one of the funny things about the whole merger was that they were like, "Oh, we're dropping litigation," and they thought like, "Oh, we're good. We're out of this. We're out of the hair." It's like, no, the Senate's involved now. It's only going to be.
But there's no way that him and Jimmy Dunn like didn't know that. He's not an idiot.
I think he's a bit of a pain sponge, to use the term from Succession. Like, I think at this point, Monahan is taking all the heat, all the public ire is going to him, and then Dunn and Hurley are kind of working behind closed doors to actually make the deals. And that's a really terrible position to be in. Jay Monahan is not. The Q rating or whatever it is not very high right now. And I think he went from 3 years ago being like, "Oh, I'm just the commissioner of the PGA Tour, and, I'm going to get my Augusta National membership, and, everybody loves me," to now it's like, you are a very controversial figure in general society. And that is probably not a turn he expected his life to take.
Yeah. If we just took the express train to the speculation station, I would speculate that he just had a nervous mental breakdown. That's my guess. I think
super understandable.
I think he went from a very polished, well-liked, pretty like by the book, I got us through COVID, this is how we're going to do it, guy, to like the least popular person in America for a week or so. And all of that combined with the stress of doing the deal. And I think he probably just broke down. I think he probably just broke down. Again, speculation station, but I would assume that he just kind of broke down a little bit. That seems incredibly understandable as well.
Panic attacks can feel like heart attacks. That's like a thing.
Totally.
So, So we wish the best. It's just I wonder, like, do you think that they're like keeping him up to date on emails and stuff, or do you think he's on like a full, you rest and get better and come back when you're ready? Because it's a pretty important time.
The most important time. He might Like by the time he gets plugged back into emails, he might be moving coffee for Yasser at that point. Like he better,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If he's not pretty dialed in here, he could really lose things. Who knows? We haven't heard anything else, right? They haven't like released anything else since then.
No.
Yeah. So
no.
hope he's doing well. I mean, it would be best case scenario probably based on the health concern and the nature of what they put out that he had a little bit of a panic attack. He's recovering. He's going to be okay. Hopefully that's the case, but who the hell knows? We haven't heard anything else. So we'll see. Okay. I think that's all I got. We're going to throw it. We got 2 big interviews. Like I said, Wyndham Clark, he's sitting there with the U.S. Open trophy. Very cool. And then Nick Taylor, who won the Canadian Open the week before, making a 72-foot bomb in front of the Canadian fans. First guy to win the Canadian Open as a Canadian in forever, in a really, really long time, I think it was. So that was
69 years.
Whew, nice.
Nice.
So, yeah, 2 big interviews. We're going to throw it to them. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go check out our YouTube page. Obviously, a new series coming out, Jersey Jerry, incredibly funny. Go to store.barstoolsports.com. Please acquire our merchandise. A lot of the USA stuff was flying off the shelves. I got the hoodie on. Frankie's got the hat on. We got the other hoodies that we rock as well. So go check out a bunch of our stuff. Enjoy these interviews. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
All right, there's only one part of the golf club that you actually touch, that you actually connect with the whole day. The whole day you're out there. Everybody's talking about putting spin on it. You got this shot, this chip, this 7-iron. You're going to cut it. You're going to draw it. You're going to hit a driver and try to hit it 300 yards. All of that, you're only touching one part of the golf club, and that is the golf grip. So you might as well have the best grips, which are from Golf Pride.
Tiger Woods very famously would say that my hands are my only connection to the golf club, and that's why he puts a lot of emphasis on the hands. He talks about golf through the hands. Grip. If you want to sneaky feel like you got brand new clubs without getting brand new clubs, replacing the grips is a great way to do that.
Such a good feeling. You can't believe that you waited that long. When you get new grips, you're like, how was I playing the last 2 years or a year with those clubs? This is a totally different feeling. Grabbing that iron, you're on the fairway in the first hole. Hopefully you hit the fairway off the tee, and you're like grabbing that 7-iron. You're like waggling it around. You're like, this feels different. Something about this. I know I just got new grips on, but something feels like I'm going to flush this right now. It's thicker. It's got way more just feel and grip to it. Oh, there's nothing better than regripping. And
It's
the
also-
ASMR of putting on grips is incredible.
It is
Watch
incredible.
those TikToks. Oh,
It is incredible.
a little squishy noise. Oh,
Fact here, golfers gained an extra 2 yards of carry when they played with new grips. So it just directly statistically data matters that you have new grips. Another little fun fact, a bunch of them. Last 3 U.S. Open winners used Golf Pride. Wyndham Clark, U.S. Open winner, plays a mid-sized Tour Velvet cord, same grip as the last major winner, Brooks Koepka, probably heard of him. Wyndham does not build up his grip, just uses one piece of tape with a mid-size. 92% of this year's U.S. Open field played Golf Pride grips. Grips are not one size fits all. Knowing which one fits your needs can help with distance and accuracy gains. Refresh your grips, refresh your game. Golf Pride, respect the grip. Go to golfpride.com to learn more. Use code Barstool10 at checkout for $10 off your order. Offer valid on orders placed on golfpride.com only through June 30th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, use code Barstool10. That's the word Barstool 10, all one word, at checkout for $10 off your order at golfpride.com. He's got the trophy.
Yo.
What's up, dude?
What up?
What's going on?
Just chilling, cranking out some media.
How has the media been? Are you sick of doing media yet?
Get there.
You gotta be. It's just been like 2.5 straight days of this. I love it.
Yeah, but hey, it comes with it. I'll take it over sitting on my couch or be grinding it on the range.
I think that's right. I think that's incredibly fair. I know your time crunch. You're all over the place. I think you're in New York right now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just going to jump in. Wyndham Clark, this is your 3rd time on the show, and it's actually been a crazy kind of like personification of your career. We had you on like 2 years ago at Liberty National during a playoff event. You're grinding to like keep your playoff hopes alive. Next time we had you on, you had won a month ago at Quail Hollow, broken through. You took down Xander Schauffele. We have you on a month later. You're a major champ. You're sitting there next to the U.S. Open trophy. It's been a crazy 1.5 years, I feel like, for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think about. I mean, just 8 months ago I was hating golf, and now we're major champions. So it's been a fun ride. I mean, the ups and downs, obviously, there was some tough times, but it's you look back, and I wouldn't change it because it's made me cherish these moments so much more.
Give me that first moment after the win, after you putt out. I know it's a whirlwind. I know they usher you everywhere as they should. Where was that? Was there a moment where you were able to be alone or just with a few other people or your brother and sister? Were you able to actually like sit there and soak it in for a minute?
Not really. I mean, the only time I was alone all night is when I went to the bathroom. So I guess when I'm doing that was the only time I could kind of think. But I was signing things. We were drinking champagne. We were, hugging people. We were crying. We were doing so many different things. So I didn't really get a chance to just sit there and be like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, that might still hasn't happened. So we'll see. We'll when I finally get alone, I'll maybe get to reflect.
So there's a couple things I was going through. You're 13th in the world now. You're obviously 2-time winner on tour. You're a major champion. You won the elevated event, which comes with all kinds of things as well, including a lot of money. You're also second in the Ryder Cup points list. So you're going to be, but by all accounts, you're going to be on this Ryder Cup team going to Italy. Has that part kicked in at all?
Well, it's something when I did the suit fitting and the fitting for it at the PGA, I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool. It's something that makes it feel real. And I was like, I really want to be on this team. I've always wanted to be on the team. And, it wasn't even really a goal of mine to start the year because it almost seemed unattainable, like it was so far away. And as I started playing better, I honestly didn't think about it. And then when I won at Wells was when the first time someone came, said it to me like, hey, you're 10th or 11th on the Ryder Cup team. And I was like, oh, wow, this could be real. And so now that, I don't know if it's 100%, but let's say my odds have gone up increasingly. It's
looking good.
It's pretty sweet. So, I mean, I can't wait to go represent this country and go kick some ass.
I know you like to drink wine. Is that going to be an issue for you being in Italy and not being able to just indulge the whole time in some of the best wine in the world out there?
I will wait till afterwards. I think What we'll do is go in, be serious about our business, go get a dub, and then go celebrate with some nice grape.
I enjoyed, you can always kind of tell afterwards, especially now with all the phones and the social media and everything, you can get a little bit of a look at the guy celebrating. What's he like? What's his celebration? I like that you're just standing there holding a glass of red with the trophy every time.
Yeah. Well, they had Screaming Eagle for me. So I was like, well, I'm not going to drink the cream of the crop. So the USGA did an awesome job throwing us a party afterwards. And they had, the wine glass had the trophy on it, and then it had Screaming Eagle. So I was like, heck yeah. I'm a tequila guy when I celebrate, but Screaming Eagle, I think, trumps some tequila.
Yeah, no, I mean, you just can't say no to that. I want to talk about this tournament a little bit. The golf course, which I thought was awesome, especially over the weekend. It got crusty. It led to some insane moments from, eagle putts to grinding, trying to save a bogey. Was there a moment earlier in the week, because it did kind of appear and it's come out, as guys have reflected on the whole thing, that it's a bit of a bomber's course. Did you feel earlier in the week at all like this spot's kind of my spot?
So I forgot I did this, but I went back. I played the Tuesday prior. I came in, flew in, played with a buddy, showed me around the golf course. And after the round, my caddy John texted me. He said, "What'd you think of the course?" I said, "Great course. We're gonna win. Don't have to show up till Wednesday." And he goes, "Perfect. All right, see you Wednesday." And I was kind of half joking, but then when we really talked about it, I was like, "John, this course is great for us." I go, if we bring any game above a B game, we're going to have a chance to win on Sunday. And so the one of the biggest challenges was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, getting my mind right to not get so far ahead and just stay in the moment. And then, after Thursday shooting a good opening round of 6 under, it's like, okay, let's just worry about one day at a time. And that was one of my main goals, was only focus on this day. And, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it was a bomber's course. The back nine, every hole is basically 500 yards. And there were some, bunkers that I could cover and shots that I could do that made it way easier. And to be honest, early in the week, I hit my irons terrible. And actually all week, I didn't feel that comfortable with my iron game. But I just feel like that course suited me well. And so, it was one of those horses for courses kind of thing. I felt like I could play good there any week.
I do want to get on the iron play front. I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to get a little bit nerdy with you. I was trying to figure out how the hell has Wyndham Clark gone from where a lot of people probably haven't heard of him to everybody's Googling you now. Everybody knows who you are. You've won twice in the last month, 2 huge events, a major championship. Huge part of it is your iron play. It went from 2021, you were 188th in strokes gained on approach. You were losing over half a shot per round to the field. 2022 was pretty similar. 2023, you're now 16th. You're better statistically on approach, strokes gained on approach than Hideki, than Victor, than Corey Connors, who were ball strikers by nature. You're gaining over half a stroke per round on the field on the tour this year. Was that a conscious effort? Or like, how did we go from clearly losing, being one of the worst guys on tour with the iron play, to one of the best?
The first 4 or 5 years 4 years I was on tour, that was definitely, if I had anyone look at my game, they're like, well, Wyndham, you putt great. You're one of the longest hitters. Your short game's fantastic. Your iron game is horrendous. And the tough thing is I'm a good ball striker. And so it wasn't that I was playing dumb. It's just I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I made an equipment change a year and a half ago, and I underspun my irons significantly. So that's one thing. I had irons that were 2 degrees flat, and I try to play cut, which, flat is what you think you would do, but it didn't match with my driver because my driver was at like 1 degree upright. So I had such a huge difference. And so one week I'd be hitting driver good, but then my irons would be terrible. And then one week I'd hit my irons good, then my driver would be bad. So it was this constant battle of like what to do. And so my caddy, John, and I, when I went from not working with any coaches, like I left all my coaches, he goes, we need to change your irons. We need to go 3 degrees up. Like you need to get it more upright. And so we went from 2 degrees flat to 1 up. And he goes, you're going to hit it so far left, but he goes, you're going to figure it out. And the crazy thing is I went on the range and I did hit balls left, but I hit every single one in the center of the face. And I used to never hit it solid. And I think it was because of the lie angles. And so I go, John, I think I can do this. I go, at least I'm hitting the center of the face. And this was about, it was a year ago. And I started hitting it better and better and better. And my stats went from, like you said, 188 to where it was like, all right, we're at like 140. Okay, we're at now 100. And then we were 70th. It's like, all right, we're in the right direction. And which was great, is we were going that way. And then now it's like I have a bad iron week and I'm still in the top 30 or 40 for that week. And so it's amazing. I feel like it's always been there. It's not like I've done anything. It's not like I've spent more time on it. It's just, I think the equipment change and the owning of my own swing is really what has helped.
Vodka. We like vodka. We like Truly. We like fruit flavors, the whole deal. Truly has done it. I know you heard us talk about it. I know you've heard it, but we can't stress it enough. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you're driving around. Maybe it's only Wednesday, Thursday this week, so you haven't really thought about having a hard seltzer yet. But we want to remind you as you go into this weekend, you start to get hyped for a summer Thursday, a summer Friday, a summer weekend. Truly vodka seltzers, they exist now. They've got the real fruit in there. They've got vodka in there. It's the greatest combination you can have. There's slick blue cans. Frankie, Trent, you guys been at Barstool Classic all week. You got 4 of them in 5 days. People are out there drinking the Truly vodka seltzers. I have to assume, and enjoying them very much.
Oh my gosh, we've had vodka sodas at the plenty. Truly, I mean, it was a sight to behold how many Trulies were distributed in Chicago over the 2 days. And I can only assume that the same will happen in Nashville. People are loving the new vodka sodas. They are incredible. I mean, you got to go and get yourself a variety pack, check the website, see where they are near you, because 4th of July is coming up. The weather is heating up. True. It's getting perfect in New York right now. It was a little bit chilly for the last couple of weeks, and now it's just getting perfect. High 70s, low 80s, beach weather. Pool weather. Roan put up an Instagram story that yesterday was the solstice, right? The summer solstice, longest day of the year. And
no, I think it's. Oh yeah. Sorry. I fucked that up.
Well, no, I was gonna say like he wrote like.
You okay, Dan?
You're on the
like
polar.
Well, I
opposite
just
yourself
the days because it's tomorrow.
Yeah. Because he
I
said
got what
2
you're
days.
doing.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's today. Because we're recording a day before. You got
That's a classic
you got time fucked.
Yeah.
You got time fucked.
Brain shut off. My bad.
But you're at the total polar opposite of seasonal depression. Like when you think about those cold, rainy, snowy, dark days, you are right now at the polar opposite. You couldn't be in a better spot when it comes to the weather and the vibes and just summer. And it's perfectly aligned with Truly coming out with just such a great tasting real vodka, real juice drink that you are going to enjoy. So it's a good time to be alive right now. Let's all enjoy it and let's have Trulies because it just makes things way better.
Let's go to trulyhardseltzer.com. Let's do that. You can find the Truly Vodka Seltzers near you at trulyhardseltzer.com. I want to talk about your drive on the 72nd hole. It's getting a lot of attention. Things were happening fast. It felt like the first time all week that crowds were sort of like materializing. Everybody obviously funnels to the last couple holes. It's down to you and Rory. Rory's hitting it. He's got a couple long birdie looks, and you're kind of shaking a little bit, but holding on. You get to the 72nd hole. Obviously, it's like the biggest fairway in U.S. Open history. It was massive. What happened from your vantage point? What was the tee shot like for you? Because a lot of people are looking at that like you look backwards. It looked on the tracer like it sliced. Everyone's like, when I slice one like that, it's never in the fairway. Was it because it still carried almost 300 yards? Like from your vantage point, walk me through the 72nd hole tee shot.
Well, it's obviously easier because it's so wide, but in that instance, it's hard because it's so wide. It's like all I got to do is just swing, and that should be in play. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes the easy shots under pressure, especially when you have a lead, are the toughest because you expect to do it, or you almost put more pressure on yourself to do it. Versus the hard ones get you to focus so much more. And so that one was tough because the fairway was so big. I mean, the only place you can't go is right. And, if you pull it left, you get in the rough, and maybe obviously it makes it tougher. But the wind was off to the left, and I actually hit the similar drive almost every day that week where I aimed in the left rough and I swung left and said, okay, I'm going to hit the slice, but as long as I start it far enough left, it can't go too far right. And so, that's one side of it. The other thing is the sun was right in my eyes. And, anyone that really plays golf, it's so hard to hit when the sun is right flashing in your eyes because you can't see where it goes. And I don't know what it is because obviously like once you hit it, you have no control. You're not like you're looking at the sun, but I always seem to come out of the ball into the sun. And that's what I did on that hole is I sliced it probably, I don't even know how much it sliced. I didn't even see the ball, but it probably sliced more because of that sun. And so, fortunately I knew there was tons of room over there and people might've thought it was a bad shot, but under the pressure, like for me, there's a slice is like 100-yard cut for me. So, cause I cut everything. So for me, it doesn't look that big.
It was fun to watch you cutting everything. It was fun on 12 when you lined up on 12, like Azinger and the crew, they couldn't believe it. They're like, he's aiming left of the trees and you were just swinging and hitting this hard cut. It was very, it's like it as a, weekend golfer viewer, it made me feel a little bit of optimism of like, this guy's got his shot shape and he's just going to hit it. He's going to hit it like this hit it out left and it's going to cut. He's just going to do that all day until he wins this golf tournament. That was pretty much what it was.
Pretty much. I mean, with my irons, I'll shape it, especially like short clubs and stuff. I didn't feel great with my iron play, so I didn't hit many draws. So usually when I done feel great, I kind of always revert to the cut. But off the tee, that's one thing that I learned about myself is I really struggle to draw off the tee. And so it's like I'd rather just hit the cut, and if it looks gross or it looks good.
It looks good.
It looks good. Well, sometimes I think it looks gross and it's maybe not the right shot, but for me, I'd rather hit one solid and I know where it's going to go versus if I try to hit a draw driver, that could be 4 different shots, and so I don't do that very often.
I loved that on 12 because to me, it seems like if you've got control of the driver, you're one of the better drivers out there. You're gaining strokes left and right. And it's like, of course, put that club in his hands. And I know you said afterwards in the press, you hit that fairway with the driver. You pulled driver every day, hit it 3 out of 4 days. And it's like far too often, it was even like watching Rory, it was frustrating where he's trying to like hit these cuts with wedges or short irons that he just isn't pulling off. And it's like, I think it was DJ talking about going into the Masters a handful of years ago. And he was like, yeah, everybody talks about how you got to shape it and draw. And he's like, if you just hit a pretty straight cut, like slight cut, it doesn't really matter if the hole sets up for a draw. Like it's just going to land straight where it's like where you need it to go. So I love that you just kept going to that on 12, specifically where it shapes right to left. You see guys pulling long irons, trying to hit like maybe a stinger draw out there. And you were just like, no, my shot's a cut. I'm going to hit a cut to the right side of the fairway. Why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, I'm honestly, it was so funny. The first 2 days I played with Austin Eckroad and Alex Noren, and they both pulled iron because they had the tee or something, and they both pulled iron and hit it out there. And one guy missed it, one guy hit in the fairway, and then I hit driver, and I pounded it. It was like 40 yards short of the green. I chipped it up to like 6 feet and made birdie, and they were like, huh. And the next day they all had drivers out, and they were like, well, maybe that's the play. And, that was something that I learned on Tuesday when I went and played with my buddy. He's like, honestly, Dub, I think you can just ship it over. And I was like, all right, and then we did it. And, I did it in practice. Like, oh, this is money. And so for me, like on that hole in particular, it didn't matter. Like I knew I could get it into that spot. And even though some of the pins, it made it tough to get close. Like when they had the front pin, and even on Sunday, I was a little close. I didn't hit the best wedge shot. But the thing is it didn't matter because that hole was so, even though it seemed like if you hit the fairway, it was an easy hole. But if you missed the fairway, it was so penal because that rough seemed to be so much higher than everywhere else on the golf course. And it was so hard to advance it into a good spot to get up and down. So I thought, I would hit the fairway more hitting driver than hitting an iron, which sounds crazy. But on that hole in particular, I just felt more comfortable doing that.
I love it. I think that's a lesson everybody out there. It's like stick with what you're good at. Put the good club, the good shots in your hands the most that you possibly can, and then see where you're at the end of 18 holes. I want to talk about 14 real quick. Probably the most pivotal moment, probably the shot of the tournament. And Rory has said since that was the moment for him where he feels like he lost the tournament. You're standing there, or the championship. Shout out to USGA. Sorry about that. You're in the fairway. Rory's got a ruling going on up there. Did you have any idea what the hell was going on?
I didn't know. No, I didn't. I saw him in there, and in my mind, I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know if he was there in 2 or 3, and I was like, "All right, that's kind of a tough spot." And then John and I start BSing a little bit, and then we come back, and then I see him getting a drop, and I go, "Oh, that's fortunate." I mean, obviously we didn't know what was going on. I was like, "Man, that's lucky."
It was fortunate.
And I don't know what exactly happened. And then he chipped and then missed the putt. And I thought he just made par. So I was like, okay, good. He didn't make birdie, whatever. And then someone in the crowd goes, oh, Rory just bogeyed, whatever. And so I was like, oh, all right, that's huge. And part of me wanted to almost change what we were doing. I was like, all right, it's pretty risky to go for that green because if you come out of it right, it could go out of bounds. You pull it left where Ricky did. It's so hard to get up and down. Obviously, he hit it into on the tee box, so it was easy, but there's rough over there as well. So you had to be pretty precise. And, it was definitely one of the shots of the tournament. And on Sunday, it was probably the best shot I hit. Wind off the right, little into, and I hit this high cut 3-wood, and, I hit it basically into an area of, it was like 8 yards wide. And the fact that it hit on the green and then I had an eagle look was incredible. I wanted to make that putt so bad because I wanted a huge fist pump there. It's one of those things where I was thinking about, I was like, man, I can't wait to make this. And
that's awesome.
Unfortunately we misread it, but I wanted to do that because there was a good amount of people there and Rory was on 15 and I wanted to just stick it right to those guys. But, still walking out of there with the birdie was huge.
Yeah, I want to talk last thing about this mental approach. You just kind of touched on it, of like Rory's right there. You went up against Xander, like I mentioned at Quail Hollow, took him down. you come out here all pretty much from Friday on. It's Rory, it's Ricky, it's Scottie, and it's Wyndham Clark. And you talked about how, you had a little chat with your mental coach before going out. I get the vibe that you sort of thrive in this environment of, I'm here with the quote unquote bigger names. I'm going to show them kind of who the fuck I am right now. And I feel like that kind of wires you to be focused, to be determined, to be kind of a bulldog out there. Tell me a little bit more about this kind of mental transformation that you've had out there.
Yeah, well, especially on the whole week, especially on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, everyone wanted Ricky. On Saturday, it was actually unbelievable. It was really cool to be part of it because he's, California-based guy, and everyone wanted him. And but it kind of fueled a little fire in me and gave me a chip on the shoulder that I was like, man, no one's even rooting for me. And I was like, I want to show these guys that they're going to be wanting to say my name at the end of the tournament and in tournaments to come. And I view myself as one of the best, if not the best player in the world, and I know I can beat these guys. And it's been frustrating the last few years that I haven't shown that. And, I think people have seen it, and, they've seen the talent and the ability. It just haven't put it all together. And so in this year, I've started to do that. And it's, that's been one of the most fun things because, I love to compete and I love winning and I love watching people win. And obviously I love to win. And so putting myself in that situation, it was just amazing. And I'm proud of myself that I'm thriving in those situations rather than turning down from it. And so it's made golf really fun when you get into those moments. And I see why guys have such an obsession of being in the hunt and having that feeling, because there is nothing like it. It's truly, you have the pit in your stomach, you're nervous, you're trying to calm your mind down, but you have so much energy, and then you pull off a shot, and then you have that, golf's so cool that way. It's so quiet. And then you have you make a 40-footer, and then the whole place just erupts. And then you have to go and then focus on the next shot and be calm and relaxed. And so it's such a mental game, and that's something I've tackled. And I'm glad I've done it, because it's really changed me as a person, and Wyndham on the golf course is a different person for sure.
Underrated, nervy 60-footer on the 72nd hole. Yeah,
that's probably the best lag putt of my life under the circumstances. Obviously I've made really thick lag putts and made cool putts from whatever distances, but it seems simple. It was a pretty much a foot to 2 feet out on the right, relatively straight uphill, but it's 60 feet and you have to 2-putt to win, and that, and I struggle with uphill lag putts. If I have a weakness in my putting, it's uphill lag putts. And if it was a double breaker downhill sliding, I honestly have been like, dude, we're gonna drain this. But because it's uphill, I always seem to leave them short. And so what I keep telling myself is, I go, Wyndham, this is gonna be slow. Hit it. Just make sure you hit it. Make sure you hit it. And once it took off, I felt like I hit it too hard. And so I knew that was a good thing, because usually when I feel like I hit it good, it comes up 4 feet short. And so I was just so thankful that I didn't have a testy 4-footer to try to win the thing. It made it a lot easier having a little tap in.
How were you aware at all of kind of the hoopla of them wrapping the whole green with fans and everything else?
Oh yeah. It was actually pretty obnoxious. It was cool. I'm glad they did it, because that place is amazing. LACC is awesome, but it's not the best for spectators. And on that 18th hole is probably the least, it's an anticlimactic spot, because there's not huge, stadium feel and whatnot. So allowing them to wrap around was really cool. But it was crazy, because we heard all this noise, and then all these policemen and volunteers make sure that they don't come onto the green, and then guys were jumping in bunkers, and so it was a little bit of a distraction. And I'm glad Ricky had to go first, because he kind of was kind of the segue in between me trying to get focused. So it was good.
Yeah, it was like they were like, oh, he's got like an 8-shot lead. We can just put everybody up there. They could jump in the bunkers.
I go, guys, but we're going to playoff. We're going to have to get all these people out of here. You're going to have to rake that bunker. So there was, but Hey, they knew what was going to happen, which was
They trusted you. They trusted Wyndham Clark. All right, man. Look, I know you're busy. I know it's been insane. Congratulations. Like I said, we had you on a year and a half ago, and it was probably for a lot of golf fans, even, or sports fans, first time really hearing from Wyndham Clark, and now household name of the golf world. So it's just been really, really cool to watch. It was so gutsy, the up and downs that you had, how gritty you were, even when it wasn't going necessarily your way, and then how heroic you were on shots like 14 and getting up and down. It was really sick. So congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll see you back here in Scottsdale hopefully soon.
Yeah. Sounds good. Like 4 or 5 weeks, I'll be out there and we can go rip up the town or something.
I love it. Thanks, Wyndham.
All right. See you, buddy.
We got an exclusive ticketing partner at Barstool Sports. It's called Game Time. You want to go to shows, you want to go to a baseball game, maybe a comedy show, maybe a concert. You want to go to all kinds of fun stuff. The answer is Game Time. It's created by fans for fans. Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, shows. They guarantee the lowest price for my brother's birthday. Actually, for my sister-in-law's Christmas present. Actually, I got them tickets to Adam Sandler in St. Louis. That actually happened to fall on my brother's birthday, which is February 10th, and I use Game Time to do that. So obviously you can get stuff for yourself. You can get it last minute. Of course, I had to get it last minute because I didn't know. I just didn't shop beforehand. And bang, it's a great gift that you can get. I got them Adam Sandler tickets. They went downtown St. Louis, had themselves a night, said he was phenomenal. One of her favorites is Adam Sandler. He's hilarious. So point being, you can get gifts for people. You can get tickets for yourself. It takes a couple taps, takes like 10 seconds. Bang, you get tickets on Game Time. They're just the best in the business.
The best. The absolute best. Seeing things in real life, in person, is just what life is all about. That's what we're doing here. That's why these leagues are worth billions of dollars, and that's why all this money's coming into sports. It's because going to sporting events and going to concerts is just like what life is all about. It's like that's like what we've figured out as humans and like creatures and like as our culture, that's what we find really cool and enjoyable. And like, why not have the best way to go to those things on your phone? It's just the Game Time app. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you should download the Game Time app, go to the website, enter your email, and redeem the code FORE, F-O-R-E, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. $20 off first purchase. Use the redeem code FORE and go download the Game Time app today. We'll start here. We're here with the Canadian hero. We love Canada on the show, by the way. We had you on earlier in the year. We talked a lot of Canada. Canadian, golfer is always interesting, coming up with not golf conducive weather all the time, going up against these guys that grow up in California or Texas or wherever where they get to play golf 24/7. And here you are, which is amazing. Here you are a couple months later. We're a little over a week removed from the first Canadian to win the Canadian Open in 69 years. You did it in crazy fashion. What's your status in Canada like right now? Have you just vaulted to the top?
I haven't found out yet. I think we're gonna have a little celebration with some friends and family here this week, which will be great. But I haven't tested the bars or anything if I'm getting free beers or not. So
did you not? Did they not bring you to Canada? Like, did you not do? When the guy wins the U.S. Open, he does like all the morning shows and stuff. Did they not have you on like a media tour right after you won?
I did Hockey Night in Canada. I introed that, which was amazing. That was Game 5, actually, the last game. So I kind of recorded some stuff and they did that. So that was really cool. I did some kind of Zoom radio calls, maybe the Tuesday or Wednesday after the Canadian Open. And there might be something here coming up, but we tried to keep it as minimal as possible just because I was playing the US Open that week. So I tried to kind of focus on that week. But we'll do something here pretty soon. But I try to do some big ones, knock it out the first few days after, and then we'll do something probably this week or next.
I want to make sure that your disappointment from last week, you missed a cut last week, which you're obviously not happy about.
Yeah.
I don't want that to obscure what you accomplished. I feel like the schedule kind of did you a little dirty. You become the first Canadian to win the Canadian Open in 69 years, which is a great number and a great drought to end. And then you got to go play the U.S. Open the next week. Like a week off would have been nice in between if the golf gods could have thrown you one of those.
No, it would have been nice, or even a course that maybe set up for me just a little bit better. It was a beast of a golf course. And And the U.S. Open is a grind regardless of kind of how it's set up. I thought last week was an interesting setup with some wider fairways. The greens were super tricky, but I actually played pretty good. I just didn't make enough birdies there where, I think I saw Ricky made 18 birdies the first 2 days, which was insane. I think he had me by about 15 there. So that was, yeah, I actually didn't play that bad. Both end of rounds, I probably ran out a little bit of gas, and I was a couple over the last 3 both days, which kind of ended my tournament right there. But I actually played all right. It's just kind of golf,
It's okay. You beat Joel. Joel only had 1 birdie for 36 holes. So
yeah, Joel too. Yeah. He dogged me. We had Joel on right before the show, and he's talking about how he's puring it and feeling good and really liked the venue. So I obviously bet on him to finish like top 40, which isn't fucking crazy. And he missed.
And then he went and played tennis.
13 over and played tennis all morning. So
he's one of a kind, that guy. He's one of a kind, that guy. You guys were roommates in college.
Yeah. No, he is one of a kind. We played a bit of tennis actually in college. We were not good at all. My first year, my roommate was on the tennis team, and we kind of snag his rackets to try to play any decent tennis. But no, Joel flies by the seat of his pants. He does whatever he wants to do, and he's very good at golf, but sometimes that gets away, I guess.
Dude, bad tennis matches, like between two guys that are bad at tennis, is a grind. I've done it many times with my buddies back home. We went through like a phase.
It takes forever.
Because every point you're chasing the ball, you got to run over it. People hit it over the fucking fence. You're like, there's never any rallies, right? It's like 2 shots maximum. One guy serves it in. If he doesn't double fall, next guy hits it back, returns it. Everybody's amazed. You don't see that coming. Then you hit it out of play and you got to go chase it. It's a grind playing bad.
You have to play someone in tennis though that's the same level ish, because if you're way worse or way better, it's just no fun whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. So you mentioned Joel obviously is your roommate. Who are the guys? Who do you kind of run with out there? Is it like a Canadian crew? I remember in Full Swing they had the whole South American kind of crew was hanging quite a bit together. Do you guys stick together, the Canadian guys?
Yeah, we're kind of like the ducks fly together type thing. We stay in a lot of houses together. Corey, Mac, Adam, we played the team event together. We spent a lot of time together. Pendrith, Svensson. I feel like I'm missing somebody. No, we all, there's probably too many guys now for
Roger
practice
Sloan.
rounds. Roger played last week. I played a couple practice rounds with him. I felt like we had about 4 guys there for a while. So it was just auto. We played together practice rounds, and now somebody's drawn the short stick and missing practice rounds here or there. But no, it's fun. It's we've gotten a lot closer over time. A couple of those guys are a lot younger than I am, but Adam and I have known each other for 20 plus years. So it's a lot of fun that we actually came out on tour together, and we've been out here ever since. So those are kind of the guys we play a bunch with. Joel, I stay with him at PGA, and we try to stay each other when we can. It gets trickier when you travel with families. I feel like, I have 2 kids now, and they're going to travel a little bit. Joel has his son, so finding big enough houses is tough with crying babies every night.
Yeah, you know what his son's name is?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah, I do.
It's a family name. He was explaining this to me.
Yeah, sure.
It's like a family name, quote unquote family name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same spelling. Yeah. All coincidence.
Right. That's a common name. I see that name all over the place. So let's get into the tournament, to the Canadian Open. Let's go back a week. US Open, whatever. Honestly, Canadian Open was more riveting, had better fans, the whole deal. Going into the week, Canadian guys, there's a lot of highlight on you. It's the National Open, which we talked a lot on last week's show about how National Opens are National Opens are as cool as it gets. Going into the week, do you feel extra pressure? Do you feel better than usual? Was there any kind of signs going into last week that this might be a big week?
I think I personally felt good about my game. We just had our second child about 6 weeks ago, so my first event back from that was the PGA. Thanks. So that was a tough one to come back after 3 weeks of not really a whole lot of golf. My game had been great before then. Adam and I finished second at Zurich. That was kind of my send-off into being home for a few weeks. And then didn't play. I played okay at Colonial, but I had a pretty poor putting week, so missed the cut there. So I was coming off with 2 missed cuts. But I knew my game was where it needed to be. Just kind of needed some putts going in. And, the first day I had a terrible 2 or 3 hole stretch that put me behind the 8 ball, and I ended up shooting 3 over. So I didn't have a whole lot of pressure going into Friday. I knew I had to have a great round just to make the cut. And I made a few putts actually the end of the Thursday round to not shoot like 77 or something. So I was like, all right, maybe hopefully that continues tomorrow. And then I just got off to a great start because that course, if you guys remember, like 3 through 6 are just beasts. And if you can get through there with pars, you're going to be happy. And I made a few birdies. I think I was 3 through 6, maybe that second round kind of just kept it going, made the cut, and then just went off on Friday and just kind of continued it. So it was obviously not expected probably Thursday night when I was looking at my score, but everything came together and just kept the momentum going.
Let's talk about the crowds a little bit. The crowds were crazy. They were phenomenal. You've played well, I feel like, when there's been some pretty good crowds before. How, they were really behind you in the playoff and all that. But even throughout kind of the week, I felt like whenever a Canadian player came onto a tee or one of the packed tees, it was a different feel. Was it was it pretty easy for you to channel that into playing better, focusing better, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I it's not very often I have more than 10 people, let alone thousands of people in the tournament rooting for me. So Sunday was unbelievable. Every tee, every green, I was getting like ovations, which was just like so strange. And I think it kind of showed like in some of my emotion. I'm not a fist pump guy. I'm not like a get riled up. And I think I just was feeding off kind of the energy. The atmosphere on 18 was incredible. 10 people deep all the way up the fairway around the greens. So I felt like I fed off that for sure. And it's just a lot of fun kind of playing around that type of crowd. Like you don't have it very often, and I tried to embrace it as much as I could.
You were an incredible college player. I know Joel always cites you as like the golden child when you guys were at Washington. You were player of the year, #1 name in the world. Feels like now you're kind of hitting your peak. This has been, I think, probably the best year of your career. I don't know about on a consistency basis, but you've got a win in 2 solo seconds. Mm-hmm. You're 8th in the FedEx Cup. What a strange game this is that at 35, after 13 years as a professional, you're hitting your peak. How do you explain that?
I've after last season, I made some minor changes and kind of made a commitment to the boring kind of process type stuff. But I felt like I'm kind of getting to that confidence level where I have confidence in my ability to hit the shots that I want to hit. I felt like, moments like the Cane Open, the waste management, those moments, I've always felt like I can handle those type of situations. It might not always end up like it did last week, but I felt like I feel relatively comfortable in situations. I think just it took a long time, after college, my game kind of went down. It's just taken a long time to get back to where I probably have that confidence where I know in those situations I can pull the shots off. And, this year has been by far my most consistent year. I've had my highest finishes. I've been in contention way more often. So, it's showing that whatever I've been doing is working. And so that's been a part of it too, is even after my good results, it's back to the same kind of boring stuff, if you want to call that, and just stick to what I'm doing. Because, it's easier to steer off that stuff when results aren't coming, but this year has been the best year by far. So it's easier to kind of get back to the grind, if you call it, with the easy stuff.
There's a couple moments from the playoff I want to talk about. One that really stuck out to me, it's not going to get the highlights as much as maybe the bomb at the end, was, I think it was first playoff hole or so, when Tommy makes like a 20-footer or so for birdie. You're in there at about 6 feet, and that's so easy. We talk in match play environment all the time about first in the hole wins. Tommy makes whatever it was, 15 or 20-footer. You had this like 6-footer. I think it was pretty good little right to lefter. And you stepped into that thing with such pure confidence and buried it. What was going through your mind in that moment after Tommy makes a pretty good sized putt?
Yeah, I've been enough in match play situations where I feel like my mindset's pretty good. I kind of, in your mind, you're hoping he misses it, but I'm also expecting to make it. And so when he made it, it was kind of, all right, let's go. I had a very similar line of regulation, so I had a pretty idea of what it was doing. And in those moments when it's a must make, I feel like there's pressure there, but I know if I miss, it doesn't really matter, right? So I just had to step up, hit a good putt, and luckily it went right in the center. So that was a cool moment too. When I look back, the putt on 18, I felt like I knew I was tied with a couple guys. It felt like it was almost a putt to win. So that was a cool moment too. It's nice to make kind of putts when you need to make them.
I want to ask, because you finished a little before Tommy did, and his decision to lay up on the 18th has been a topic of conversation on this podcast.
I've seen that, yeah.
How happy were you when you saw him laying up?
So when I finished, he was at 15 and I finished at 17. So it's kind of like, all right, we'll kind of see what happens. And then he birdied 16. I was like, okay, that's not great. Stuffs it on 17. I'm like, well, like 18 was the easiest hole a week. So when he missed the fairway, there was obviously a chance there. I didn't really see enough of the coverage to see what his lie was like.
It was a good lie.
Yeah, I've heard.
Were you there, Dan?
Say that.
Have you been to the golf course, Dan?
Listen,
Ian is not a guy I want to mess with. Ian's not a guy I want to mess with.
No, he's not.
When he laid up in the rough after that, though, is when I went to go warm up and hit a few balls, because I felt like, honestly, from there was probably a better chance he makes 6 from that side hill rough lie than he actually is going to make 4. He had a great leg putt, and obviously the playoffs started. But yeah, if he busted a wood up around the green, I'm sure he's going to make birdie more often than where he laid it up. But I think, he lays up in the fairway a lot more than he lays up in the rough there. So that was just probably a bit of a tactical error. But when he decided to lay up in the rough, that definitely... No, I didn't say course managing error. I said tactical error.
Maybe a little executional error.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, who knows, right? I know I saw Ian say, like, they just stuffed 2 wedges. You got to trust your game plan, and they decided to do that. So every situation is different.
And then obviously the putt, 72-foot eagle bomb walk off. Walk us through kind of the whole moment. You guys have played this hole a million times at this point.
Yeah.
What'd you see from your vantage point?
So I had maybe the second playoff hole. I had a similar putt on top of the ridge. The second playoff or third playoff hole, I think I had that chip going up. So I knew relatively what was going on. The idea was speed. I guess you try to see the ball going in the hole, but the process wasn't, hey, I'm going to make this. It's 72 feet. That just happens. Literally, that's never happened in my career. So, it was all kind of speed. Again, I think I said it before. I knew with the rain coming down, it's so easy to leave that putt like 10 feet short with how slow it was up the hill. And to hit it hard enough was kind of a miracle in itself right there. But to kind of drip in the center was wild. And my initial reaction was complete shock. And then, Dave Marples has been one of my best buddies for a long time, but to be on my bag last year, he's been a huge impact. But to see him charging at me is really the only thing I remember. And then I kind of blacked out, but pretty fun pictures after that.
At what point in the round did you put the security hit out on Adam Hadwin?
Oh, that is also unbelievable. Yeah, that's actually happened twice at the Cane Open. Someone told me when Ches Reavie won, like, I don't know when he won, 15 years ago maybe. Somebody came out with champagne as well and got decked. I think that's the only tournament that's happened twice, which is
good security up north. They're not messing around.
Absolutely. No, we can't have hecklers on the 18th green.
We talked about that a lot. We're saying you'd rather have your security guard go that way than the other way. Like, you'd rather have him being too diligent than lackadaisical. That guy can't have on his conscience some unruly fan coming out and attacking the Canadian Open winner with a bottle of champagne. It's just unacceptable. So he took care of the
world has now benefited from him doing that. So that's great. Man.
Boy, I enjoyed that. I just enjoyed the hell out of that. All the different angles. There was I'm sure you've seen it with the slow-mo with the Titanic music playing.
Oh, that's by far my favorite video. It is incredible. He wraps around that corner and then I saw there was a spoof. The NFL Network joined the PGA Tour and had them talking about this elite linebacker or something. It was incredible. He did like
a little swim move to get around on the other guy.
It was just elite. It was so good.
It was fantastic. So afterwards you wrap up, you have your celebration, you got to do media. I liked it. We kind of just asked Wyndham Clark this, but like, at what point that night was there a moment where you got to be alone or even with just a handful of people that are close to you and like soak it in a little bit on Sunday night?
Yeah, we went back to I was staying downtown a week, so we went back down there. There was maybe like 8 of us. Like, it wasn't crazy. We didn't go nuts because I had to fly out the next day, but a couple celebratory drinks. It was a lot of fun. And then my wife, who was out west, 3-hour time change, she's like, I'm not sleeping all night. Just call me when you're back. So we were able to chat for, it was probably like 2 a.m. for her, 4 or 5 in the morning for me, and we were just like, what just happened? What does this mean? Type thing. So that was kind of the end of the night, which again, this hasn't probably sunk in, I think, for just what had happened, how it happened, and maybe what this means for kind of my career going forward. But, that was a fun moment just to kind of reminisce what's going on, because more and more people slowly came over to our house over here and started watching with her. And so yeah, it was fun to kind of hear the stories that were going on here as well.
There are 4 Canadians who I want to ask whether you've heard from, because you are a Canadian hero, and these are for me the 4 Canadians that I want to know if you've heard from. Number 1, Justin Trudeau.
He tweeted at me.
What does that count?
That counts.
I think so.
He's the guy.
He's the prime minister.
Okay,
Right.
I think that counts. Okay, Wayne Gretzky, golf guy.
So Wayne called me. We were leaving the golf course and we're going to the McDonald's drive-through to grab some food because we're all starving.
Hell yeah!
And we were like,
What'd you get? What's your order?
We got a lot. We got 20 nuggets. We got cheeseburgers, fries. We got the works. It was delicious.
Any McFlurries? McFlurries really good.
I know they're good, but at the time I wasn't feeling it.
That's fair. Okay.
Anyway, he calls. We're like almost the drive-through, and then Jordan, who's my agent, was there, and he like kind of backed up out, and so we're just kind of sitting there. He's on speaker talking for like 3 minutes. It was pretty funny. It's like, Wayne, you kind of delayed our McDonald's order, but we'll let it slide.
Okay, we're 2 for 2. I feel like we might go 0 for 2 on these next 2. I actually have 5. There's one more after. Drake.
Okay. No.
Nothing from Drake. That's tough.
Nothing.
Okay. Justin Bieber.
No.
Okay, last one. This one might actually, I want to finish above 500. Connor McDavid.
Nope.
Wow. 2 for 5. Okay, we started off hot.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, I would say of those 5, I would have expected maybe 1. I think the over for me would have been like 1.5. The over.
So we hit the over.
But you also, I feel like you gave Trudeau about a half there. So maybe we just saw
It's actually a good point. Wayne Gretzky, I thought,
Prime Minister.
I figured Wayne Gretzky hangs around golf enough that he would know where to find you.
Correct.
Wayno, I can see. Wayno's like one of the, Wayno's a huge name. He's definitely getting out there more though with the TNT and doing the hockey stuff. So
yeah, he was. We chatted a bit, but he was doing the Stanley Cup panel deal, and I think he was going to be in Vegas and maybe at the US Open. Anyways, no, it was great of him to call. That was really nice.
Amazing. So, what's next? I know you're obviously not playing this week. You're up in Canada. You're kind of hanging. What's next? How are we going to attack the finish of this season?
I'm going to do the John Deere and then fly from there to the Scottish and British. My whole crew is going to come. So there's a charter plane from John Deere to Scottish, which works out great for us. But yeah, that's kind of the next 3. I've never played in a British Open, which I'm really excited about.
Unreal.
Yeah. Of all the majors, I felt like if there's one that I have a chance to win, I feel like the British is probably up my alley. A lot of these majors are getting so long now that I feel like there's only a handful of guys that can actually win some of these events. Not that I can't compete, but I feel like at some point when someone's hitting 30 yards further than me, it's going to catch up. But I feel like the British, I've never played Hoy Lake where it is this year, but I'm looking forward to it a lot.
I got to start to mentally prepare myself when you said the Scottish Open for them to say Renaissance when they talk about that golf course. I got to like wire my brain and get ready for that. That's a big week.
I know. I will definitely say Renaissance more than once. And get corrected.
Oh yeah.
Have you played that event? Did you play that one last year?
I played there last year. Yeah, it's a great event.
It's not super firm though. That course. I guess they kind of made it a little firmer last year, but I remember some guys were complaining the year before that it was like not a great preparation.
Yeah, so the scores were way lower the year before there, so you're kind of preparing for that. And then last year, I think Xander won at like 6 under or 7 under. It was pretty windy, but that's what I love it when it's like that.
Right.
There's high fescue grass. The greens, from what I'm told, again, I'm not very links. I haven't played a lot of links golf courses, but the greens were more new age from what they said. But again, it's such fun golf over there. So it'll be 2 weeks.
Were you like an alternate for the Open last year?
No, I wasn't. No, I was probably.
You just went over to play the Scottish because why not?
Yeah, I got in last second. They had 3 or 4 spots. I was like, you know what? Let's go do it.
Cool.
And then took the week off after. But
did you hang out that area? Because that area is unbelievable for golf. Did you play any other courses while you were there?
I didn't play North Berwick. I'm going to do it this year. My brother's coming over.
Nice.
We'll play around. I went to Edinburgh for a night.
Cool city.
Went out with amazing city. I wish I got to spend a few more days, but yeah, it'll be now that I've gone there once, we can kind of plan it a little more. But North Berwick, which is where the golf course essentially is, it's such a cool little town.
Yeah, I've heard that North Berwick's probably a top 5 bucket list golf course for me at this point. I've heard about it so much. I remember Max last year like made the cut on Friday and then went and did like a twilight round at North Berwick. It was pretty cool.
Well, it gets dark at like 11 o'clock at night.
I know. Dude, we played, we were filming last year out there. It's funny to think like we've probably played more like links golf courses than you have out there shooting like 83. But last year we played Carnoustie and we teed off at like 6:30. And I remember we were coming up, it was 10:45 at night when we were finishing on 18 and we could see totally fine.
Yeah. It almost makes you reminisce when I grew up here in the summers, it wasn't quite that late because they're a little more north, but 10 p.m. we're at the golf course till every night in the summer. It's just the best. Just the best.
That's great. Unreal, man. Well, yeah, that Canadian Open with the fans, they had the whole hockey boards on one hole and the rowdiness, and then for the crowd to be as behind you as they were, and then you to deliver that clip, that'll be iconic for the rest of your life. You'll be remembered for that 72-foot bomb, walk-off eagle. It was just so sick. It was so sick. So
Nick, I want to say something before we go. Nick, you're top 10 in the in the Comcast top 10. You're 8th. You got a little bit more clout now on the PGA Tour. Can you get them to put some juice behind the Canadian Open? Can we get that on the elevated event schedule? Can we get all the big boys to Canada?
I would love that. I know RBC would love that. I know the country would love that. I feel like we've had pretty good top side of fields. We'll see, man. True. I think there's a lot in the works right now currently. So it's I felt the last 2 years after the hiatus of COVID, the atmosphere has been unbelievable. When Rory won in Hamilton in 19, it was great, but I feel like it's gone up another level. The rink hole, you guys would love it. It's such an atmosphere that's unique. It's, they've kind of probably copied a bit of like the waste management model, which has happened in a lot of tournaments, but to have their own little uniqueness of bringing Canada, hockey, the rink, it's awesome.
I got to get to the Canadian Open. It's one of the few tour events that I truly want to go to that I've never been to before. It looks awesome. It looks fun. Yeah. Anytime we get the National Open, like we said, that sort of embraces it. We'll call Monahan. I don't think his schedule seems pretty open, so we'll give him a ring. We'll put our lobbying efforts in to get the Canadian Open elevated, get the biggest star power up there, and we'll get up there and check it out. I want to see the Canadian Open. You'll be defending champion next year. How badass is that?
Let's do it. Yeah, that's sweet.
Unreal. All right, man. Well, good luck.
Thanks,
safe
guys.
travels everywhere.
Thank you.
Travels over to Scotland, obviously, and we'll be pulling for you. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Congratulations again.
Congratulations.
See you soon.